I wanted to talk a little bit about low pressure versus high pressure, external compressors, cutting versus engraving on the Mira 9S from Aeon. So we recently got the Mira 9S. We have an external compressor hooked to it, and it also has an internal air system. By default, the internal air system only pushes about 2 or 3 psi, which is fine for engraving and scoring, because there you're really just looking to not let soot and residue back up onto the lens. So essentially, the only function of the air pressure is to keep the nozzle area free of debris and smoke. So the low pressure is fine as long as it's a negative pressure inside, a positive pressure inside the nozzle. It'll push the particles out and away. We'll have a video of that here in a minute. First, I want to go through the Lightburn settings. So here is our state park map, and the green lines and the blue lines are scoring, just different settings. The green's a little bit defocused, and that's going to run at 70% power, 16%, 70 millimeters per second, 16% power. The blue score lines are focused, and they're running a lot lighter so we don't burn through the board. So again, we're 70 millimeters per second. We're only 8.5% power on those. And then the engrave is running at high speed. We get 550 millimeters per second, 100% power for the engrave. The red lines are where things change, and that's a cut. And you notice that that is the only layer in which air is turned on here. That's this toggle here. We always want the air to be on for a cut, so it'll blow the debris out of the way. And what should happen is while you're doing the scores and the engraves, you'll hear just a low hissing. That's the internal pressure. On the display, it's going to look about 2 psi to 3 psi. And the smoke will be getting out of the way of the nozzle, but it's not going to be going crazy. Once the cut starts, you'll hear a significant change in tone. It should sound a lot more like a jet engine than just a light breeze. And the smoke will start coming out the sides of the boards more so than on top, because it's blowing all that stuff down through and really trying to push the smoke and debris down out, getting rid of all the ash and everything out the bottom of the board. And it makes a significant difference both visually and audibly. So the thing I wanted to show here was this setting is what's required for the external air. And the way it works inside, now there's a video of this that will be included as well. There's a solenoid. When the solenoid is closed, it allows the internal air pressure to enter the line that goes to the nozzle. So again, that's only 2 to 3 psi. If the air is turned on for a layer, it opens the solenoid, thereby changing from using that 2 to 3 psi internal compressor to your external compressor that should be set to around 60 or 70 psi, and it'll end up getting reduced to about 20 to 30 psi as it comes through the small lines, because you can only do so much with that size of a tube. So whenever we're looking at these layers here, if you double click on the layers to adjust the layer settings, you'll see the air assist is what toggles that air setting. And again, only the cuts need to have that. With that note, I'm going to move over to different videos that show the solenoid in the side of the laser, as well as the sound when we're engraving versus when we're cutting, and the display. So we'll move over there now.
Okay, so these are the airlines coming from external and internal air. What I found is this one is the low pressure internal air. This one is the external high pressure air. They come into this solenoid switch, and then this goes out to the laser head. Okay, I'm capturing the end of my scoring and engraving, and we're going to be moving on to the cutting in a moment as soon as it finishes with the Pennsylvania here. And I want to film this so that you can hear the difference when we switch from the internal 2 or so psi to the external air compressor, which should be around 30 psi. There's a significant change in sound And you'll also be able to see the way the smoke comes off the nozzle changes significantly. So for all the layers that we're doing right now, air has been disabled in Lightburn, and the next layer for the cutting, it's enabled. So you'll hear that here in a moment when these letters finish. There was the huge change in sound, and now it's cutting, and you see we jumped to over 20 psi here. Looks like I'm running at 21 right now, and we're cutting through. You notice how much the smoke is blowing out the sides instead of coming through the top, and it's very clear that things have changed significantly. But also notice there's zero flare-up, and that's because the air is turned on. We're cutting, this is 3mm Baltic birch plywood. We're cutting at 50 millimeters per second, 100% power. And it's going right through this like it's butter. You can see we're clearly cutting the whole way through. And we're getting almost no scorching, and nice, clean, very well defined cuts, very accurate cuts. So hopefully this